What's going on, guys? We're going to hopefully try to finish one or both slip joints tonight, and hopefully try to get everything put together and uploaded for you by the end of the evening. But we are getting pretty close to the end here. Now, I did do some work off camera that I didn't really think you guys needed to see. In my opinion, it's pretty boring and monotonous, and that was the flat grinding of the blades. Now, if I'm wrong about that, by all means, I apologize. And if you guys want to send me some comments or PMs requesting it, if I get enough, I'll go ahead and make a separate series of videos on how to flat grind a blade and the different steps and processes I go through with that. That being said, I really didn't think it was that interesting for this video series, and not really even within the scope of what I wanted to show. This is more on how to assemble or to make a slip joint, not really how to grind knife blades. But again, if you guys want to see that, if I get enough requests for it, I can certainly put something together for you. Now, there are some pretty good tutorials already out there. I'll go ahead and mention one that I own, which is Flat Grinding with Harvey Dean. He's got some techniques that I don't necessarily subscribe to, but I think the video as a whole is pretty good. And the company that put them out, I'm not sure if they're even still making videos, but they did a pretty good job with a couple that I own. And you can get most of those from your average knife supply house like Midwest Knife Makers or Jantz, as well as some video houses here or there. So if you don't know how to flat grind, or you want to see some more accomplished makers than myself go through the process, that's definitely one to look at. I'm sure there are other good videos on YouTube to watch. I just didn't really feel the need to include it in this series. So what I did just go ahead and flat grind these. Took them to a pretty high polish, not a mirror finish, as I think that shows scratches too much, but kind of a high polished satin, which cleans easy, but also holds oil fairly well to keep things clean. And what I did after flat grinding, I did take it originally all the way to the spine, but I went ahead and put this back on my surface grinder to clean up the flats one last time and take any scratches or irregularities out of it that I may have inadvertently picked up while moving these around the workbench or the work rest on my grinder. So we did take a little bit of that flat grind out, put another flat spot there around the nail nick. I will go ahead and take that back to the spine, but I'll go ahead and wait until everything's pinned back together permanently and the knives are pretty much put together, as it really won't take very long at all or be much of an issue. So I'll go ahead and do that later, but at this point we really are ready to put things together. Now, one thing I also did that I didn't show is etch my maker's mark on the blade. Again, there's far better tutorials out there than I could make for you. If you want to really see how I did it, go to Brian Fellholter's channel. I know I've mentioned him on my channel before, but he does a really nice job of showing how he etches a blade. It's the same process that I use, thanks to his information, and it works very well, just using some Windex and your etching machine. And then what I usually do is follow it up on the buffer really quickly, just to really clean it up and make it look nice. But his channel is KnifeWorks with an E, KNIFEWERKS, if you want to see a pretty good tutorial on etching. So now that that's out of the way, again, we're pretty much ready to assemble. One thing I do like to do that I find is very necessary is to go ahead and ream the pinholes out for painting the pins. You want to take a little bit of material out to give the pins something to swell into while you're painting them. If you just leave them straight, it will hold together, but not nearly as well. And it really doesn't take a lot as far as the removal of material is concerned. Really just reaming out half of the hole depth would probably be more than enough. And I don't even chuck these into anything because the G10 or micarta that I use is so soft to begin with. But you can certainly chuck these up in the drill press, go down about halfway or 3/4 into the hole, and that'll really be more than enough of material removed to give your pins something to grab onto. And if you don't believe it's enough, a really fun little test to do is to take some scrap pieces of micarta, drill a hole suitable for the reamer you have or the pins you're using, sandwich them together. You could even put a piece of steel in between them if you want. Ream your holes out, pin your pins, grind them flush, and then try to take that sandwich back apart. And you'll quickly learn how well just removing a little bit of material works for reaming out a hole and painting your pins together. And it's also fun to grind one of those edges off, pull your pins out, and then see how much material actually swelled up to hold that together. Just a little side project if you guys are interested. I know it doesn't look like much what I'm doing here, but it really does make a world of difference. And I've got a couple different size reamers here. Really only need one probably, but one's for 1/8 inch holes, one's for smaller. And I think I actually have a third size around here somewhere that just fits in the 3/32 diameter holes, but I'm not sure what I did with that. So we'll use these slightly larger ones. Just remove enough to give the pins somewhere to go. And you can kind of look down in the hole, see how far you went. I usually like to go about halfway at least. You obviously don't want to go completely through your hole because then your pins get loose. Hopefully this is halfway in focus. And I think we'll call that good. So what I'm going to do now is cut some pins to roughly the length I need. When I pin these together, I usually leave about say a 1/16 or so past the edges. So when you sandwich all this together, you want maybe a 1/16 a pin on either side. So cut your pins an 1/8 inch longer than whatever this thickness is. Should be about 7/16 plus an 8, so 9/16 long pin. And then we'll take this over to the vise and start painting things together. And once that's done, we'll be pretty close to seeing a functional knife.